Welcome back, Love Nation. This is Nina. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Thank you to everybody that has been coming to my channel. Like this video, share this video, and hit that notification bell so you guys know when I drop my next one. We're going to get straight into part 2 of reading the New York Times argument to try to get out of the case and get their part dismissed with the Wayfarer Justin B., Blake Lively, and it ends with Us movie situation, as they are saying that they did not act in malice against Wayfarer, but they were just reporting facts. I am actually going to discuss some things that I read looking through this argument that was put into documents this weekend as we are discussing this. And I think that this paragraph is key. And I think that the judge is definitely going to be looking into this because I actually agree with some of the things that's going on here. Now, again, this has to do with New York Times publishing an article around Christmas and not giving Justin B. and Wayfarer enough time to respond to the article in a meaningful way before it was published. Now, I'm actually going straight to this area here where it's alleging the actual malice has been pleaded against New York Times, because I actually do agree with this. I'm just going to be reading through this and sharing my own opinion. It says right here that the New York Times argued that the Wayfarer parties have to satisfy the actual malice standard because of Baldoni's status as a public figure in New York's amended anti-SLAPP law. Though California and New York law diverge on whether the actual malice standard applies to all of the Wayfarer parties, it is irrelevant for present purposes because the FAC adequately alleges actual malice with respect to each of them. To plead actual malice, a plaintiff must allege a statement was made with knowledge that it was false or with reckless disregard of whether it was false or not. Court cases cited. And while reckless disregard cannot be fully encompassed in one infallible definition, the defendant must have made the false publication with a high degree of awareness of probable falsity or entertained serious doubts as to the truth of said publication. Now, I'm reading these specific paragraphs for a reason, so bear with me because this is going to go into my own argument. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a social media personality stating facts on what I'm seeing and the actual facts coming out in this case. Continuing to read, construed as true, the FAC allegations set forth plausible grounds to infer actual malice. Court case cited. Actual malice is subjective, but a court typically will infer actual malice from objective facts. Now, again, I'm glad that this part was cited because the actual facts could support this case to be continued, but because the New York Times is a well-known journalistic publication, it could be twisted and this could be dismissed, but this is a really good argument. Let me continue and I'm going to state why. Whether a defendant entertains serious doubts as to the truth of the statement, it may be proved by inference, as it would be rare for a defendant to admit such doubts. This infers to evidence of negligence, motive, and intent such that an accumulation of the evidence and appropriate inferences support the existence of actual malice. Court case cited. Actual malice is established through the defendant's own actions or statements, the dubious nature of his sources, and the inherent improbability of the story among circumstantial evidence. Court case cited. Proof of actual malice may take the form of circumstantial evidence, such as obvious reasons to doubt the veracity of the informant or the accuracy of his reports. And again, these court cases were cited. Now, this is why I say this. Did they, and again, it's been alleged that they had this information since October 31st of 2024, but it was not published until almost Christmas of that same year, 2024. So they had it about 2 months. Did they fully investigate, even though what they initially published? And I did make a full video. Go back and watch my playlist. I made a full reading of the entire initial lawsuit when it was published. So please read that through. It had the communications, and it was very one-sided. And I think I did say at that point that the evidence that they were showing did not show other texts. It was like you were reading it, but I felt like I wasn't even reading the full thing even then when I read it the first time. And I read it with you guys. And it was multiple videos. So please go back and read it. In fact, I think I am going to add the original document. I'm going to add the original document that I read to this when Blake Lively initially filed. Continuing with this, it says, here it is not just that the NYT, New York Times, failed to adequately investigate, but rather that it did investigate and obtained and reviewed communications that disproved what it later published, and that it edited and spliced documents to mislead viewers. Willfully disregarding, let alone manipulating, information casting doubt on a story is altogether different from negligently failing to investigate it in the first place. Another court case is cited, where a publisher undertakes to investigate the accuracy of a story and learns facts, casting doubt on the information contained therein. It may ignore those doubts, even though it had no duty to conduct the investigation in the first place. And there's another court case cited. In the Mason case, which is cited for this, for instance, the court noted that there was evidence from which a jury could infer that the New Yorker investigated the facts underlying the article, including the quotations, and that this investigation yielded information that gave the New Yorker obvious reasons to doubt the accuracy of the disputed quotations. Likewise, in Hart-Hanks, the Supreme Court affirmed an actual malice finding, where the newspaper refused to listen to recordings or interview witnesses denying the allegations. Again, that case is cited. The New York Times admitted it did undertake an investigation, as alleged in the FAC. The New York Times made clear that the article and video were not merely recitations of Blake Lively's CRD complaint, but were instead a work of independent investigative reporting. Describing the Wayfarers Party's alleged playbook for waging a largely undetected smear campaign in the digital era. Describing private text messages and other documents that the New York Times obtained that reveal what really happened. As alleged in the FAC and conceded by the New York Times, the substance of the reporting was based on thousands of pages of text, messages, and emails, which along with other documents were revealed by the New York Times, FAC 262. Armed with this voluminous evidence, the New York Times either knew or recklessly ignored proof that that the contents of its articles and videos were factually false. Now, again, read through this. If they are saying that they read through, and read this again, the reporting was based on thousands of pages of text messages and emails. When did they get this information, and how long does it take to actually go through 1,000 pages of text messages? That is a question. It seems that would take more than a day or two or even a week. It even might take multiple people, especially with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds being so high profile, and with Blake Lively being friends with Taylor Swift, They could have seen this story as being a huge story and having to probably put more than one person on to investigate the proof of said contents before it was published. Now, again, how long would it take for them to go through thousands of pages of messages? Compared it to what was initially published. And then the crazy thing is that Justin B later put on his website, which I might as well put a link on that also. He put out on his website the other half of the messages that New York Times did not post on their story. So how was this investigated? And again, we're going to just continue to just go through this. The notion that Blake Lively's bad press in August 2024 was actually caused by an untraceable smear campaign is so inherently improbable that only a reckless person would have put the claim in circulation. Case cited. Another case cited, excuse me. There were obvious reasons to doubt the veracity of these statements in light of the reporter's common sense, the New York Times prior reporting, and the relevant primary source documents and communications that the New York Times obtained that its reporters claim to have reviewed. Indeed, the New York Times itself reported on Blake Lively's public missteps in August 17, 2024 article. It ends with us, the press tour drama explained. I am actually going to write that down and I am actually going to review that. Not only were New York Times reporters privy to Blake Lively's missteps in real time, along with the world, they also reviewed private internal communications among Wayfair's parties directly refuting the article. Worse, the New York Times worked on the article for many weeks before publishing, perhaps since October 24, 2024. Yet the New York Times deliberately waited until the last possible moment to seek a response from Wayfair's parties. Indeed, on the evening of December 20th, and this is key, TUI contacted the Wayfair parties for a response by the next morning concerning explosive and false allegations. The Wayfair parties denied the allegations and specifically warned TUI that her story was false and based on a cherry-picked, context-free communication spliced in a probably false narrative. A publisher need not accept denials, however vehemently, before publication. And again, another court case is cited. But here the New York Times could verify the denials because it had purportedly reviewed those communications. Purportedly avoidance of the truth supports a finding of actual malice. And then it is going on to say that the Wayfair parties have met their burden to plead facts, giving rise to the plausible inference that the New York Times published the allegedly defamatory article and video with actual malice. The test is whether the complaint is plausible, not whether it is less plausible than an alternative explanation. The jury may ultimately agree with the New York Times, but it is the jury that must decide. And again, this is key. There's a lot of key information put here. I am actually going to go back and look for that article that was published August 17th, excuse me. And I am actually going to read that for myself. I want to see what they put in that. Like, share, subscribe, you guys. I am going to probably come back with a part 3. Share your comments below respectfully. Until next time, be safe and enjoy your day. Bye, guys.